Good morning. Today is Monday, January 27th. I'm Elizabeth Hasselbeck. We begin with a Fox News alert. They helped kill Americans, and soon they'll go free. Afghanistan releasing dozens of terrorists with the blood of our soldiers on their hands.
And all eyes on the White House as the president prepares for his State of the Union address. Only problem, his goals from last year's address still hasn't met them. Are we in for more broken promises? Bret Baier live from D.C. in 20 seconds.
Wow, he's got charm, good sense of humor, a great humor, a good sense of humor, and dare I say, handsome. Now Steve's finally getting the recognition he deserves. There he is. Fox and Friends starts right now.
I made the cold open.
It's Fox and Friends with Brian Kilmeade, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, and 2014's Distinguished Kansan of the Year, Steve Ducey.
Congratulations, friend. That is such a great honor.
Hard to keep me down on the farm after your name Kansan of the Year.
You're so distinguished.
Thank you very much.
Did they make a pitch to keep you for your entire year reign?
No, they were happy that I would go back to New Jersey.
They were sick of it?
No, it was a great honor. We're going to show a little snippet of it a little later on. But it was big doings last Friday in Topeka, the state capital of Kansas. Now we go to the capital of the United States of America, and Bret Baier joins us live. Hello, Mr. Baier.
Well, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much, Bret.
Hey, Bret, can I ask you an awkward question?
Yeah.
Why wasn't Steve, thank you. Why wasn't Steve part of, why wasn't that a topic on the panel on Friday?
Yeah, it was left out of the Friday lightning round. I didn't get the memo.
Well, that's always tonight.
It was a stealth mission for the Distinguished Kansan.
So we know what this week is. There was a lot of debate about the debt ceiling yesterday in the Sunday shows, but as far as the big story, it'll be the President's State of the Union. Many say this is his last consequential report because after this, Bret, it's let's look at the next person. Let's look at 2016. Do you agree there's pressure on his shoulders to produce something, an action plan?
Yeah, there is, because it is the last really bite at the apple to get Congress to move his agenda forward that arguably has been stalled. And you see that frustration in some of the things the administration has been saying. To hear them use the words practical, realistic about this State of the Union address suggests how limited he may be in moving Congress to get a big ball across the finish line. That said, there are some things that potentially could still happen on his list, and that's immigration reform. House Republicans are going to take that up, and they may be able to get some piecemeal kind of legislation, not a comprehensive deal like we saw in the Senate.
Right, that's on tap for them this week, hopefully, to get that through. Ted Cruz, I want you to listen to this. He thinks there's something special that the president should say. Take a listen.
One of the things President Obama really ought to do is look in the TV camera and say to the over 5 million Americans all across this country who've had their health insurance canceled because of Obamacare, to look in the camera and say, I'm sorry.
Objectively speaking, what are the chances of that happening?
Zero. I don't think it'll be like he says. There will be some focus on health care. Clearly, it's his #1 legislative achievement from the administration's perspective, and there'll be some focus. I doubt it'll be a lot of the speech, and there'll be an effort to try to get Congress to move things forward. But, we've already heard that there also is going to be this executive action kind of theme,
right,
that if you don't do it, I will. So it's kind of a delicate rhetorical dance to say, I'll do it alone, but I need you on a couple big things.
There's an item in I'm sure you've either read it or will read it later today in the Washington Post today that says that Dan Pfeiffer circulated a memo, kind of a postmortem of the last year, and said one of the problems was the president had acted more in the past year like a prime minister who is selected by his fellow politicians rather than as a president. So going forward, he's going to try to do more with that phone and the pencil, rather the pen. But what's interesting is he's going to make these announcements in front of Congress, which he effectively is saying, I'm going to go around you. Sorry, guys and gals.
Yeah, and that's tough. Listen, and it's also a midterm election year. So you've got this message that, I'm going to cooperate. I need you to cooperate with me, but you guys aren't getting it done, so I'm going to go around you with this pen and phone. How much you can get done with the pen and phone is really in question. You can affect things on the outskirts. Some presidents in their second term have used executive actions to success, but on the big ticket items like tax reform, like unemployment benefits, you need Congress to weigh in.
Sure.
and entitlement reform, too. And he's also working on tax reform. They're making some progress, I understand, in the House and Senate on some tax reform. I can't believe he wouldn't embrace that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things, if you talk to Democrats and Republicans up on the Hill, that they say the same things, that they say, we want this to happen, and it's roughly the same sentence. But when you get push comes to shove, the politics of this place, there's always some kind of hinge. There's always something tied to it, and it doesn't make it across.
Yep.
You know, so the White House is hashtagging the State of the Union. They're having some sort of, limited access that people can kind of get in, everyday Americans following them. Is this a response to the charge from the New York Times that there's a lack of transparency?
Well, I don't think if you asked reporters who cover the White House full-time, every day, that they would say that this is the most transparent administration in history, as they once claimed to be.
Right.
And there is a back and forth almost every day in the White House briefing room between Jay Carney and reporters on this very issue.
So Jill Abramson, who's the editor there, said it's the most secretive ever that she's ever covered, which is ironic because maybe there's an argument that part of the New York Times' very favorable coverage allowed them to get away with it to this point, and now they're realizing the monster they created.
That's right. And, Brett, you were talking about the back and forth in the briefing room. Well, yesterday there was some back and forth over on ABC, Jonathan Karl versus Jay Carney on transparency. Listen.
You covered White Houses as a reporter for Time magazine. So would Jay Carney, reporter, correspondent, bureau chief for Time magazine, be satisfied with the level of openness and transparency with this White House?
Well, Jay Carney, reporter, would never be satisfied with the amount of information that any White House or any congressional
So Jay
office...
Carney would fight with Jay Carney?
Well, what I would tell you is that you and all of your colleagues, my former colleagues in the press, absolutely have to be beating on us and others around Washington to get as much information as you can. I strongly disagree with that statement. I know from experience that it's wrong. And, we provide an extraordinary amount of information and access to reporters, and we work every day to provide more.
All right, so there you got Jay Carney saying he would fight with Jay Carney.
Yeah, and I think if you look back at his history as a reporter, he would fight with Jay Carney. And listen, there's a frustration in the White House press corps about access, about transparency, and the New York Times weighing in is probably positive to that cause.
We know everyone's got an invisible friend that's usually not you. You're
Brian's is a giant bunny that was just on TV.
Exactly, so no longer invisible.
I was close with that bunny.
Hey, Brett, if you don't mind, we're going to watch you tonight at 6 on Special Report.
That sounds good. See you then.
Sure will.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye, Brett. So